So like we had said, transitions help you to change from one idea to another. The reason why we want to use transition words and transition phrases is because it helps us transition or change from talking about one idea to talking about another idea, and it helps us to do it smoothly and naturally. That way your writing sounds a little bit better, it sounds smoother, and your reader will enjoy it just a bit more. And again, make sure we have our cameras off, make sure we have our microphones off so we can all see the video clearly. Haley, Nakai, make sure we have our cameras off.
Same.
So these are some examples of transition words we could use in our writing. These ones are ones that I like for our conclusions. Therefore, as a result, conclusion, those ones kind of are a way of telling our reader, because of this reason or that reason, this is why I feel this way, this is why I think this way. But like I said, I think these work super well when we're working on our conclusion of our writing, that last little bit to end our story well. These ones would work fantastic. However, in fact, then. These ones are also good ones, but these ones are ones that are better for when we're explaining one of our reasons. However is something that kind of shows an opposite. So if you were going to talk about, maybe like some of us mentioned food for our favorite holiday, why we like the food around that holiday. If you were talking about how maybe that it's a lot of work to, I don't know, to bake the cookies or make the bread or whatever it is that you're going to eat, you might say, however, it is very delicious. So you're saying that even though it's a lot of hard work, that it tastes really good. I would be a little bit careful with words like however, because when you're trying to explain to someone why you like something or why it's your favorite, if you talk about, oh, it's really tough though, or oh man, it takes forever, or oh, it's so much hard work, like my arms are sore the next day, they might be kind of wondering, or they might be confused thinking, well, if it hurts or if it's so difficult or if it takes so long, why do you like it then? And however is kind of our way to let our reader know that even though it might be a little bit difficult, we do still enjoy it. In fact is a good one when you're giving those examples. Like, again, most of us took the opportunity to write about Christmas. And one of the things that I saw a few of us mention as a reason why we like Christmas are the ornaments, ones that we hang up all over the house or all over the tree. In fact, could be used to give some specific examples. I know that yesterday we saw one, and that person had beautiful, beautiful examples of the different ornaments. And they could say, in fact, some of the ornaments we have are this or this or that. And they could be very specific. Like they talked about pictures of them or their sisters or brothers that they use as ornament. Then we have the word then. Then is really good for switching between reasons or between explanations. So if you were going to talk about, I know some of us, again, for Christmas mentioned things like the weather. How we like that it was cold and that if it's snowing, you can make snowmen and things like that. We could use then to talk about how maybe, we go outside, we play in the snow, then we come inside and we start to open up our presents, because that was another one that was kind of popular for Christmas, was talking about presents. Then can show that I'm finished talking about one thing or one event or one idea, and now I'm going to move on to the next one. Consequently, lastly, in fact, and for example. Consequently, very, very fancy one, sounds very smart. Consequently is again kind of showing like a conclusion one. So that's one that you could say for the end. So consequently, I like this, or you can say like let's say you're talking about again like let's say a snowball fight, and if you're gonna have a snowball fight with brother or sister, if they're older than you might say something like consequently they usually win. But again, that one I wouldn't use for something that we're explaining our favorite, because we want it to always be something good, something that we actually like about it. And not many people enjoyed losing snowball fights to brother or sister. But you could use it at the end to show people because of all those reasons, because of the food or the presents or the decorations or the snow, that's why I like Christmas. Lastly is another good one to use for your reasons, but because it says lastly, I would save it for whatever reason comes last, whether that's your third reason or your fourth reason. If you say lastly, but you're talking about your first reason, your reader is going to be very, very confused. They're going to think, oh man, I must have lost part of the writing because this says lastly, and this is just the beginning. So that one you can use in between your reasons, but you have to be careful that you save it for last. We have in fact, which is another good one when we're giving examples of our reasons. And for example, it has the word example in it, so it's great for something like that. After that and soon are a lot like the transitions they showed us earlier. Then you could say we have a snowball fight. After that, we go inside and unwrap presents. Or if you're talking about soon, you could use something like soon after to show that it's going to happen after that. Or if it's depending on when you're writing the paper, if the holiday that you like is soon, you could use it then. Something like soon we'll be opening presents and drinking hot chocolate or something like that. Now, if you use the word soon, you need to be careful that it is something that happens pretty quickly. It doesn't have to be the next hour or the next day, but soon. If I was going to write about, let's say if I was going to write about Halloween, which is now like a whole year away, I wouldn't say soon everyone's going to be putting jack-o'-lanterns and spooky decorations up, because it's not going to be very soon. It's going to be quite some time. Yet could be another one that we use to show like an opposite, where maybe something is very hard work or it takes a long time or your arms hurt afterwards, but you still like it. I had to work so hard making the cookies and rolling the dough and my arms hurt afterwards. Yet that's my favorite part. And then in the same way is when you're trying to show two things that are similar. Like maybe that you like two different things about Christmas, or how I know yesterday in one of our pieces of writing someone mentioned how they have very meaningful ornaments and decorations they put up, like of their brothers and sisters and things like that, and of themselves as well. So they could say that in the same way, we spend time with our family because we love them. You're trying to show that there's a reason why these two things are going together. So this one's just pointing out to us that just because these are transitions doesn't mean that they work for every single sentence and in every single situation. Like we were talking about, there are certain times where you use one of them and certain times where you should probably use a different one. That lastly transition is a very good example of this. Again, lastly, you can't just put it wherever you want in your writing. It won't make sense in some places. this is an example of a question we might see on a test. Which of the following transition words could best be used at the beginning of sentence 4? Without seeing the sentence, we don't really know. And like it mentions here, we want to put it at sentence 4, at the very beginning. So what we need to do is go back into whatever piece of writing they gave us, and we can't just read sentence 4. We also want to read a little before that. We want to read sentence 3 to see, well, what was happening before they changed their topics. What was happening before that, so I know how I should change it. If they're talking about opposites, then I could use something like however. If they're talking about two things that are very similar, I could use also. If they're trying to give me reasons why something happens, I could use therefore. Or if they're giving me an example, I could use D, for example. So if I go back and I look at the actual sentences, we have Sally wanted to go shopping. She decided not to because the mall was too crowded. They're telling us that Sally had an idea originally. Her idea was, I'm going to go to the mall. I'm going to go shopping. She ended up changing her idea because she didn't think her idea was very good. She thought it was too crowded, so she didn't want to go to the mall anymore. This brings up a good point. If you're just going to pick an answer choice, all you're really doing is guessing. You need to actually go back and see which one I should use, because some of them make a lot more sense to use now than others. All I want you to do in the chat box is just type A, B, C, or D. Which one you think would work best? So in the chat box, just put the letter A, B, C, or D. Out of those 4 answer choices, which one would you have used, or which one do you think is the best answer choice? Do we think however, also, therefore, or for example? All you got to do is just type it once for me. And if it's lowercase or capital, it doesn't bother me. All right. Let's take a look at them. Let's try them out. I'm going to go in order. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read sentence 3. Then I'm going to read the answer choice, and then sentence 4, so we can hear how it sounds all together. Sally wanted to go shopping. However, she decided not to because the mall was too crowded. That was answer choice A. Sally wanted to go shopping. Also, she decided not to because the mall was too crowded. Answer choice B. Sally wanted to go shopping. Therefore, she decided not to because the mall was too crowded. Answer choice C. Sally wanted to go shopping. For example, she decided not to because the mall was too crowded. That's answer choice D. So after hearing it, if you think that you want to change that answer, only if you want to change it. If you still think, yep, the one that I picked earlier, that's the best one, you don't have to do anything. But if the one you put earlier, now that you heard it, you think, I don't like that one, type your new answer choice. What do you think you would put if you had to change your answer from what you said earlier? Okay, so we've got a few people changing their answers. That's fine. Hey, look, we're ahead of the game there. Like they said, we've talked about our fanboy words, our conjunctions. We said the conjunction but is used when we have an opposite. I want to eat all my candy, but I don't want to get a cavity. I want to stay up late to watch this movie, but I need to wake up early. So if we replace the word however with but because they both show opposites, it might help us out. Sally wanted to go shopping, but she decided not to because the mall was too crowded. Just like we could replace however with the conjunction but, we could replace therefore with the conjunction so. Sally wanted to go shopping, so she decided not to because the mall was too crowded. Correct answer was A. Sally wanted to go shopping. However, she decided not to because the mall was too crowded. So even though she had this idea in the beginning, like, hey, I should go shopping and check this out, it changes because she decided to do the opposite because the mall was full of people. It was too crowded.